Welcome to the Crimson Engine. My name is Rubidium. Today we are looking at the Sigma FP firmware 2.0 update and all the cool things that you get with this camera with the new firmware. There are a lot of new features, some of which are nice to have, some of which are great to have, and some of which this camera really needed. For those of you who came late to the party, this camera is a full frame 4K 12-bit RAW. It is half the size of the Blackmagic Pocket Cinema cameras. It has great battery life and it is under $2,000. First and foremost is the ability to play back the RAW files in the camera. So now once you shoot something in 12-bit full frame 4K RAW, you can actually play it back and see that it looked like you wanted it to look. With the previous firmware, it was really difficult to use this camera not knowing if you'd got the shot or not. But now you can play it back, it works great. That was a big plus. So that was a must-have. What is great to have is full frame 120p 10-bit in RAW. So you get this awesome epic slow-mo. There's no cropping in on the sensor. You get it in 10-bit RAW, so you can manipulate it all you want. You can do 4K at 100 frames a second or 2K or 1080 at 120 frames a second, and it's glorious. The camera now has dual ISO. So at 3200, the voltage to the sensor actually increases and gives you more sensitivity. This makes the camera into an absolute monster for low light, much like the Sony DSLRs. Because the full frame sensor is so much larger, picks up so much light. With the dual ISO, you get these beautiful possibilities of shooting nighttime with no lighting and getting amazing seascapes and cityscapes. The camera still doesn't offer a log, but you can now at least turn the color off so you get much more of a flat neutral profile. You still have to sort of just give yourself 2 more stops in the high range, and with a little bit of experience you can work around it pretty well. I actually do most of my exposure with this camera on the Small HD Focus 7 with false color, so I actually like the fact that it records in more of a Rec 709 space. I do wish the histogram gave the accurate picture of the exposure, but knowing that I have a couple of stops above and below is not the end of the world. You can now jam timecode to this camera through the audio port, which is huge. I used a Tentacle sync device and it lined up really, really well. Again, a lot of entry-level cinema cameras don't have any timecode in, like the C200. So the fact that they can generate, read, and jam timecode is awesome. It really does need this because audio on this camera is not great. Doesn't have any much in the way of preamps. You're not going to be using the audio right into the camera. So the fact that you can have a good solution for that is awesome. There are a bunch of other features that Sigma has added in firmware 2.0. There's more ranges in the color lookout, but these only get applied to the QuickTimes, not to the RAW. You can generate cinegraphs in the camera. There's a cool little thing where you can shoot a short clip and then select what part you want to move and what part you want to stay the same and output them and upload them. A bunch of other stability fixes. One thing I thought that I'd be able to do with this camera that I couldn't was use a SD card or a high capacity SD card to record the RAW. It just doesn't have the ability to do that, so you have to keep using the T5 drives, which are much cheaper, really stable, and are really widely available. It just adds another little accessory to the outside of your camera, and I personally think that's fine. It might not suit everyone's workflow if you're shooting adventure stuff or you want a very stripped down camera to like place on a gimbal or something else. It does add another cable and another accessory, but in return you get very cheap, high quality 12-bit. I've been playing with this camera for 6 months now and just continue being impressed with how good a quality you can get from it, how sharp and how much latitude the RAW has. The Sigma say 12.5 stops. I think it's at least as good as the Canon's 13 stops and maybe even more. It is a great cheap camera if you're getting into RAW cinematography and you want a small little B camera for your cinema camera, or even if you want a adventure camera or a gimbal camera, it is just a really great solution. Thank you very much for watching. I will see you next time.